What is happening, everybody? My name is Beth and welcome back to Every Day is Spooktober. Now, we have got the review we have all been waiting for, and that is Evil Dead Rise. That came out on the 21st of April. This film was so highly anticipated. Obviously, on this channel, I did a trailer review where I just gave my initial thoughts and reactions to watching the trailer. And you know, it's interesting looking at that video and now coming here and then giving my thoughts on the film, because obviously a trailer you're only getting so much. However, there was things I questioned in that video about the trailer that I was really unsure about how they were going to pull it off in the film. And there's so many things that I'm still questioning because they don't really get answered, which it kind of annoyed me a little bit. But anyway, we're just gonna get straight into this. Obviously, this has been a highly anticipated film for so many people, and there's been mixed reviews, and overall the score is pretty good in terms of ratings for it. So it's obviously lived up to people's expectations, and a lot of people really have loved this film. So yeah, let's talk about this film and I'll let you guys know my opinions. So obviously, like I've said, highly anticipated film. Before I actually give my thoughts and everything on this, I just wanted to, like, a disclaimer. So I've seen the original Evil Dead, snippets of like the other films. Hated the original Evil Dead. Just the original Evil Dead for me wasn't enjoyable. It was just not a good film in my opinion. I think when they came back with the reboot and they did Evil Dead 2013, it's in my like top 5 favourite horror films of all time, the 2013 Evil Dead. Beautifully made, horrifying to watch, gory, over the top. You know, it had a mix of the original, but it also had its own sort of special way of just portraying such a fucked up, crazy situation of like the evil taking over and killing everyone. So this review is coming from someone who adores the 2013 one, and you know, a lot of people said about the Evil Dead Rise that it very much looks similar to the 2013 one, like what they were trying to pull off, like the gore and the creepiness and the just horrifying stuff that we see. So that's sort of what I was going into the film thinking, right, we're gonna get a similar 2013 one, is what it looks like, and that's right up my street, and I absolutely adore the 2013 one. So yeah, I'm looking forward to going into this. I think my overall thought though of the film would be the first half was decent, the back half and the ending was awful. And you know, this film wasn't really like the 2013 one in any way, and I'm aware it's not going to be the same. There's different directors and filmmakers behind it. Obviously we still have like Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell and all that are involved in the making of this one, like they have been with the others. But yeah, this one had a completely different tone, a completely different vibe to it that I wasn't expecting myself. You know, I think the costume, the props, the makeup, like everything about this was very different. Like the evil doesn't look the same in the 2013 in the original, but you know, I'm not mad at it because I think it has to adapt in some kind of way. So I think like when each character sort of becomes possessed and turns into the evil, you know, it's not as horrifying as it was in the 2013 one, which sort of you could tell from the trailer, like their faces, and like obviously in the trailer we see so much imagery of like the mother being turned and possessed. You know, she doesn't look that scary, so I was kind of relying on the acting, the soundtrack, and just sort of the situation and what was going on to really amp up the horror. Don't get me wrong, there was so many moments in the beginning where when we're in the apartment and we're sort of getting to know the dynamic of this family and the two sisters and the children and everything, when the evil finally starts to hit, don't get me wrong, there's creepy moments. There's moments where I was on my seat and like I was smiling because I was like, this is so fun, this is so fun. I think when Danny goes and finds the book, I think the whole situation of how they come about finding the book, and then it kind of dates back to the original when they find like the vinyls, and then they obviously play the vinyls out loud, and then obviously it says the prayer and the evil comes alive. I think like in terms of that whole situation, I thought that was stupidly set up. And my biggest concern about this is, why in the hell are we setting this in an apartment building in like the middle of LA? Like, this is like the weirdest setting for this type of movie. And after watching it, I genuinely don't like the setting. I think it just doesn't work. You're in a small apartment. There's a couple people on the same floor as you that are involved with this. Everyone else isn't involved. There's the girl from the beginning, who obviously we do a full like 180, and we end the film off with how it starts, and we have a girl living in that same apartment building and has no idea about everything that's gone on. The lift is broken, people are dying, chainsaws are being whipped out, people are going through like massive meat grinders and all this crap. Like it's so unrealistic, and I hate it. At least with the original and the 2013 one, they're in a secluded area, so there's no hope. There's no way of escaping this, and that's what makes it 20 times more scary. With this, it's just odd that no one's around. You're in LA, like everyone knows that it's like one of like the craziest, busiest cities ever. Like, it really bugged me. You have like an earthquake, there's like a big split in the middle of the street, and then there's like these like underground catacombs or something like that, and then there's like the book is buried down with the vinyls. I think that setup of how we come across the book is so, I hated it. I'm sorry, I just hated the concept. It didn't work. It came across really cringy. It was just such like a forced plot of the film that just didn't work. Like, find the book in the apartment that you're just moving into, or something along those lines. Don't have it in some underground tunnels that we find because apparently there's an earthquake all of a sudden. I didn't like the setup of that at all, if I'm quite honest, which is really disappointing, because I think like the way the book looks, obviously there's a completely new look on it. It looks pretty cool. There's like obviously teeth sort of there that open up, and it needs sort of blood for it to open. I thought that was a cool effect. And there's obviously like illustrations and stuff inside the book on the pages. I think some of those are quite cool, although I do think the 2013 book inside the pages looks better. And then obviously we have the vinyls, and the vinyls is like sort of like, it was giving me very like Rec vibes at the end of Rec, when they go to the top floor and they find out that there's this guy, you know, holding experiments and stuff like that, and there's this guy on the tape in The Evil Dead who's talking, and he's explaining how the evil works and the process of it. I didn't particularly like the finding of the book, because as soon as you see the book in this film, it's kind of like game over, and you know that, but it's found in a way that's just so like nonchalant and like, oh yeah, let's just go down here. Like, I mean, I understand kids are stupid in films and people are stupid in horror films, but it was just, it just didn't make any sense. It really didn't make any sense. Like, you're in an apartment building, like, why would you find that there? Like, it's just so weird. Maybe I missed something, I don't know, but to me, I didn't like that part at all. You know, and then I think when obviously the prayer gets read out loud and all this, obviously it ends up hitting the mum, and she's in the lift when the evil comes inside of her. Now, when we see this part, you know, and we see the lift breaking down, and we see like, you know, the electrical wires hanging around, and it starts gripping her and holding her down. I was like, right, well, we've seen this before in multiple of the films. This is where the evil literally goes inside of her. No, it didn't. Really disappointed. Why? I don't care if it's electrical wires or something. Why didn't it do that? Because it doesn't make it clear that the evil has gone inside of her. In a way, it's like how we traditionally see it. I can see they were trying to do it a different way, and like, I know all these like Evil Dead fans, they were waiting for that epic, insane, disgusting moment when the evil goes inside of her. In the 2013 one, it is done like it's such a crazy, amazing way, but like it's done so well. And with this, we didn't get it, and I was really disappointed. That was a moment I was really waiting for, and we just didn't get it. But like that's another moment in like this entire film where I'm like, we see, we see how big this apartment building is. We see the exterior. It's huge. How's no one hearing this? How does no one know about this? Why are the people not walking around? Why are the people not like evacuating the building or coming into the building? Why is it a ghost town? And that is what I don't understand about this film at all, because it never talks about it, it doesn't bring it up, and it's just like a big plot hole in this film that it's missing. If you could give us some kind of context, maybe it's like abandoned, or like they're still furnishing it, or I don't know, give us some kind of something or substance to make it make sense, I'd be like, okay, cool. But we don't get that, and it just, the entire film I was questioning it. I was like, what is going on in this apartment building? This makes no sense. I think when the evil takes over, don't get me wrong, I think the acting was done pretty well. However, the dialogue was over the top, so over the top, and it was giving me very much Evil Dead original vibes. The dialogue was cringy. They were throwing out curse words like there was no tomorrow. They were like saying, like, the dialogue when the mum gets taken over, like, is so cringy sometimes, and just like some of it was like bringing me back to the original, and I was like, I don't really like this. Like, this is really, it's just dumb, it's silly. It's not like the 2013 one where it's so serious and just like awful to hear. It was more like you could tell that they'd done a lot of work with editing people's voices and the way that they sounded when they were taken over. And I didn't particularly like that at all. I think it was very cringy. I think it was very over the top, which a campy, whatever, this is what these films are. But yeah, some parts of the dialogue I was like, okay, like you're sucking me out of the horror, of the terror of what we're seeing because of what you're saying. And I think that's why there was so many parts in the film where I was like, oh, like, don't say that, don't do that, or like phrase it differently, or like don't edit her voice so it sounds like she's strangling 20 cats or singing a nursery rhyme. Like, it was very all over the place, the way that the evil spoke when inside of people. Don't get me wrong, there were some fun, interesting moments with when people were, the evil. For example, like Gabrielle, when she initially gets, taken over, and she's like crouched on the counter in the kitchen and we're like slowly approaching her. That was creepy. That shot is beautiful as well. Like, I commend them for getting such a good shot. And she's obviously turned into the evil, and she's like chewing on glass, and it was like, oh, okay, like it was a fun scene, and that was kind of that was what I wanted to see more of, because it was so intense, it was so gory, and it was just really fun. And I think the most anticipated scene of this entire film was obviously the cheese grater scene, and it massively flopped. What the actual hell was that? I wanted to see like limbs being torn off and like really getting in there deep, but when she goes to use cheese grater, she just scrapes Beth a little bit, and it was like, what the actual hell is this? Like, what? That was pathetic. That's what I mean as well, though. I think the trailer really hyped up some moments, and then in the film it just didn't deliver and it didn't hit. The trailer really makes you think it's going to be way worse than it actually is, which, I mean, like, fair enough, it's good marketing to bring people into the theatres, but no, it kind of was upsetting to see. Overall, when the evil starts kind of killing everyone off, we have our final two of Beth and Cassie eventually getting away. It was kind of obvious that these two were going to survive. And also, another really big thing about this that really annoyed me was we were involving children. And the fact that, I mean, obviously the other kids in it are obviously like a lot older, but Cassie's obviously very young. And something that really annoyed me is, for those of you who may not know, in filmmaking, you are not legally allowed to show children dying in films. So the fact that we had a child there was no threat. There was no threat because if she does die, we're not really going to see anything. And number two, she's probably not going to die because she's this sweet innocent girl, and this film is heavily themed about on motherhood and taking care of your children and the importance of it and family. So it was obvious that the little girl wasn't going to die, and Beth was obviously pregnant with a baby, and she was obviously the final one not to turn, so it was kind of obvious that those two were going to survive. Kind of predictable. You know, I just think though, like, the final battle at the end was just like off the rails. Like, I hated it. I really hated the ending of this film. I think the fact that the family sort of turned into this big creature, I know that's giving very sort of like Ash versus Evil Dead kind of vibes, and I could see the inspiration taken from that, but it didn't work for this film. This film didn't need that. This film, it was too over the top. It just lost me, if I'm completely honest. The ending just lost me, and even the person I watched it with agreed and said the same thing, and they hadn't seen any of the other films before. It was too easy of a kill. There wasn't enough sort of fight back like there is in the 2013 one. Like, Mia goes through freaking hell and doesn't stop fighting from the second she steps into that cabin to the second she leaves, and there was none of that. And I really wanted to see that, like, you know, the difficulty of trying to fight this off. But I think because the entire time that we had a child with us, nothing crazy was going to happen, because how the hell would a child escape that creature if Beth wasn't there? So it was kind of like, it was just a very easy defeat of the evil in a way. I mean, I know they don't actually kill it, because then the evil ends up taking the girl from the apartment, and then they, you know, we get back to the beginning of the movie where they're at like the cabin by the lake. I wish the whole film was set in the cabin by the lake, if I'm quite honest. It would have been such a better setting, and I think this whole aspect of being an apartment building just didn't work. That is just what I thought of Evil Dead Rise. I guess you could say, yeah, I'm disappointed. I really wanted a similar feel to the 2013 film. I really did. But this one definitely pulled aspects, I think, from all the other Evil Dead films and series and everything that they've done, and I can see that, and I'm sure there's fans out there that love it and respect it, which is maybe why it's done so well. But I know people that haven't seen the other Evil Dead films and they hated this one because they don't understand maybe this concept and references and this, that, and the other. But yeah, I think I may need to give it another watch, maybe when it comes out on streaming. But I was massively let down, you know. And the thing is I know I can't sit here and be like, this film was awful and it was trash, because it's coming from years and years of films that are campy, over the top, and just the way that they are. And this was more, I think, Evil Dead 1, 2, and 3 vibes more than anything. And I think the 2013 one is just a very much standalone one in terms of real, serious, genuine horror. I think Evil Dead Rise definitely had potential, definitely had some interesting moments and some gory moments which were fun to watch. That is my review of Evil Dead Rise. Let me know what you guys thought of this film. I think if I was to rate this, I'd probably give it like a 5.5 out of 10. I think that's only fair. And I know it might be kind of low and people might disagree, but that was just my opinion. I'd be interested if they do release another one. I would love to get the director back for Evil Dead 2013, because he got a good idea of what he was trying to do there. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and don't forget to like and subscribe, guys, and I will see you on my next review.